Hello, chaperones. I just want to put together a little presentation for you for the trip coming up here in about 3 weeks. Um, Thanks for volunteering. I appreciate you guys giving up a weekend to come and hang out with us and make sure this trip goes okay. We're hoping for good weather. You never know this time of year. We seem to have had rain just about every time we've taken this trip, but it can also be pretty nice too. So you never know. But here's the info here. As you probably know, we're driving all the way up to the Canadian border. So when we do this trip, we'll have two buses with trailers. Kids will load all their gear in there. We'll have some chaperones, obviously, that need to drive. Some will be on the bus with us. We'll figure that out as we get a little closer. If you are driving, though, we'll definitely cover, as much of your gas expenses as we can. We'll have a credit card so we can fill you up at different times throughout the trip. So what we generally do is we go from when we leave Eden Prairie, we take our drive up to Duluth. That's usually a good spot for our first bathroom break. From there, we go all the way up to Grand Marais, and we'll stop, spend a little more time there because we're going to be leaving about 7 in the morning. And so we'll have plenty of time to get up here. We just kind of need the extra time in case something were to go wrong. If we have any kind of breakdown or anything like that, always good to have a little more time. So we'll spend a little more time up in Grand Marais, eat lunch up there. Kids can bring their own lunch, so can you, whatever you want to do. And then, we'll take the rest of the journey up the Gunflint Trail, which is probably about 60 miles, but it takes longer with the bus and trailer to get there. So it'll be probably a good hour and a half to 2 hours until we get up there. So hopefully get up there around 3 o'clock. And then here's our Gunflint Trail again. It's really slow moving up the switchbacks here when you're gaining elevation. And then once we get up here, it's pretty smooth sailing until you get to the end. And then it winds around a lot. We can't go super fast with the bus, but we just take our time. And hopefully when we arrive at the trail's end, way at the end here, it'll be dry. If it's raining, we're going to be up for a little challenge, but we can wait that out a little bit, but so hopefully it's not a complete washout. And then in our campsites, we've got these campsites down here reserved. These campsites up here are all elevated, and they're not very nice. So we don't do anything with those. We just leave those alone. But we have all these down here, with the exception, I think, of one of these that wasn't reservable. But we'll basically have the whole place here to ourselves. There's not too many people that come up here this time of year. The next weekend is when it really gets busy, Memorial Day weekend. So generally what I like to do is have kind of a chaperone campsite here, one down here, maybe even one over here. So again, once I get a kind of an idea how many kids will be there and the groups, we'll be able to kind of get that put together. So, we'll kind of spread the chaperones out a little bit so you can kind of listen for anything happening. And I'll be going around checking on the kids, and we'll definitely have plenty of interaction with the kids while we're in the campsite. So this area right here again is where we're staying. When it comes time to go canoeing, the outfitter, who is located right over here, he's going to drop the canoes off right down at this landing right here. Okay, and if anybody wants to go north up to the Seagull River and Sag, this is where he'll drop canoes. So I can just tell them that on Friday, and you're going to be basically assigned a group. Your group will meet with you Friday when we get up here. They'll kind of spell out the agenda for you, what they want to do as far as when they want to get up, when they want to eat, and when they want to actually get on the water. Obviously, weather's going to kind of dictate that a little bit, but so you can choose either to canoe out here on Seagull or go up here to Sag. I'll show you another map in a second, but basically, your group's going to have to walk down here. It's not too long of a walk to the chaperone, or the outfitter. You're going to have to get your life jacket and paddle down there. Then you can walk this way right down to the boat landing, and then just grab whatever canoe. There is a place here that you need to get a permit for the day. So one of the people, doesn't have to be a chaperone, but someone needs to fill that out. Same thing over in this landing here. There's a permit box over there too. So you fill that out. You put one part of it in the box, the other part you put in, you take with you. And then when you come back, you can bring the canoes right back there. And what I would do again, once you get back, is have the kids keep their life jackets and their paddle. Then we know it's sized up for them for the next day. So they can bring that back to their campsite, and they can just leave it there. And then the next day, deciding on when and where they want to go and all that. But this whole area right here is all rapid, so we can't go through there. But they can canoe up to this point in here. And obviously this is, the current's not too bad. But once you get a little closer to these, then it's a little more dangerous. So that's kind of the layout of the campground. Friday, again, we're going to load at 6:30. Try to get out of here by 7. So the kids are all going to show up, load their whatever bus they're on. They're going to put their stuff in that trailer. We certainly don't need all the chaperones here for that, so we can kind of decide on your departure time, and you can definitely meet us along the way. So that's not a big deal. So I'll be here. I'll have a couple other teachers here with me probably too, and that's kind of what I told you before. We'd kind of do those bathroom breaks and food stops, and then try to get to the campground by 3. So this is a bigger map here. This is where we're at from the campground. So again, if you wanted to go north, it'd be from this area through, this is Gull Lake, but it's actually the Seagull River that runs all the way up here. So you could canoe all the way up there. It's pretty scenic up there, but once you get to Sag, I wouldn't go too farther out here because it's pretty big water. If you got a really strong northwest wind, that could be a problem. So I'd stay, sheltered in here. It's kind of a cool, area to canoe. If you wanted to go out to Seagull, we canoe out here, and then it gets a little bit bigger here. Not terrible. You can always kind of hug the shoreline and then kind of get into these islands. Palisade is right about here, and that's a cool spot the kids like to go to. A lot of fishing opportunities in here. It's just kind of hit or miss. But as far as canoeing all the way down here through this big section, I wouldn't advise that. Another thing we did last year was to come out, once we come out of the mouth here, and there's some current here. It's a little challenging to get through there. You can either take the portage or you can just shoot it. And most kids were able to do that last year. If it's a little bit stronger current this year, it might not be so easy for all the kids that we have. But biggest thing is just to keep the nose of the canoe facing forward. Don't get it turned, because then that's when you can flip. So that's that little area again. And we're going to do a lot of practicing with our canoeing and stuff. So they'll have a chance to kind of practice that a little bit, be a little more familiar with something like that. Another place people went to last year is this portage to Grandpa Lake to go fishing. That's an option if you wanted to do that. It's kind of a challenging portage. So if your group, if they can't carry the canoes on their shoulders, then we're probably, I probably wouldn't do that. There were some trees down that we had to work around, but once we got there, kids had fun catching fish. And then you got to do the trek back. So it's about 3/4 of a mile up, down a little bit, challenging. Could be wet, could be muddy. You just never know. So your group may or may not want to do that. This is a view from Palisade. This is really worth going to check out, just to be able to see this shot of the Boundary Waters. You can kind of see some areas that have been burned, like over here. The fire kind of skipped to different islands. And then over on this side, it's burned too, and then this area wasn't touched. So this is a real cool place to go check out. Here's our outfitter. So once you get over to this area, you basically just walk right up the road. And to the right here, where all the canoes are, the paddles and the life jackets, and then their store and restaurant too. So we got a lot of different activities. Some kids aren't going to fish, but some will. I like to try to keep all the kids together the best you can. You don't want to be too far apart. In case somebody were to roll their canoe, you want people there to be able to rescue them. So that'll be a huge point of emphasis with the kids. And hopefully they'll be a lot more comfortable in canoes by the time we take this trip, because we'll be over at Round Lake canoeing as often as we can. Some will want to fish though, and they can kind of fish different spots that you're going to. Climbing Palisade, stopping at different islands to take a break, have some snacks, use the bathroom, which there really isn't any bathroom, but if they need to go to the bathroom, that's their only option. We'll do a little volleyball at night, things like that. It's kind of fun. So I'd like to try to do one chaperone for every 6 students, and so I'm working on a few more right now. We had 100 kids sign up for this trip, and now this is 2 weeks before we actually are doing the trip, so a lot of them will drop. A lot of them don't know what's on the calendar, May 17th through the 20th yet, but they just signed up. So I just did that just to kind of start their process of organizing their groups. So within their groups, they're going to try to organize their food and their equipment and things like that. And we want them to kind of be as self-sufficient as we can. So any stuff that they need, they're going to let me know. Students will always be with the chaperone when the group is canoeing, and they'll always have life jackets. All right, so they always have to wear their life jackets when they're on the water. Chaperones will always be present at the campground too, so we'll always have somebody at the campground when the kids are there. Big rule is the chemicals. We've had issues on this, this area a while ago. Haven't recently, for probably about 10 years. But if you were to, suspect any kid, was under the influence, either smoking something or drinking something, then you just let me know and I take it from there. So I'll call their parents and call the cops, and we'll start that whole process. So I don't expect chaperones to deal with that. It's just something that I'll definitely, take the lead on and be in contact with the deans, and we'll take it from there. So I don't think we have to worry about any kids that are signed up. I feel really good about everybody that's on the list right now. I've only known some of them for about 2 weeks, but if I suspect anybody is capable of making poor choices on a trip like this, I'll definitely, take them off the trip. So we'll just kind of keep monitoring that, but I just wanted chaperones to know that. For chaperones, basically what I'd like you to try to do is if you have a tent that you want to use, we've tried the big tent before, the big cabin tent with 5 or 6 chaperones in there, and there's usually someone snoring. Usually it's my brother, and it usually keeps everybody from getting their sleep. So it seems like having individual tents probably is the way to go, maybe just with 1 or 2 other people. I've got tents that I can get you if you need one. Tarp's probably going to be a good idea just for extra protection if it rains or when it rains. We set up kind of a chaperone base camp where we do all our cooking, and I've got a big canopy and tarps and things like that, so you won't need to set up anything for cooking. Sleeping bag, sleeping pad, full rain suit with hood, flashlight or headlight, water bottle, good walking shoes, hiking shoes, and I always try to get try to bring at least 2 pair, just to make sure we can get a good warm pair or dry pair if we need it. Any fishing gear if you want, and then warm clothes. So I'll provide all the food. We'll make coffee. If you want tea, just let me know. We'll do grilling. We'll grill every night. I'll have stuff for lunches that you can bring along on your day trips into the Boundary Waters. So we eat pretty well. So if you have any special requests, let me know. And then any special snacks or anything or beverages that you want besides, water, definitely bring that yourself or let me know and I'll pick it up for you. So just know that that's all covered, and anything that you can't eat, let me know and I'll make sure that I get whatever works for you. So we got a lot of flexibility there. The last day we make a run home real early. Try to get back by 3. All right, so we do usually 1 or 2 stops on the way home, and obviously any extra bathroom breaks that we need to. So if you have any questions, just shoot me an email, call me. There's my cell, and I'll be back in touch with more information. But I thought I'd just start with this information for you, just so you have kind of a general idea of how this works. We've got some chaperones that have been on this trip before and some that are brand new, so it'll be great. It'll be a fun trip. I'm looking forward to it. So let me know if you have any questions, comments in the meantime. Otherwise, thanks for your time, you guys. Appreciate it. I'll be in touch.